Why? Because we're constantly bombarded with information, right? There's something like 2 to 5 million bits of information that our conscious mind is exposed to and our subconscious mind takes in. Were they all around me? Absolutely. Was I paying attention to? No, because my filter was that was not information that was important to me. Opportunities are everywhere. Opportunities to make $1 million is everywhere. Opportunities for new clients is everywhere. Opportunities for that soulmate is everywhere. Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Manifesting Success live call. Today, we're going to talk about how to manifest anything that you want. And what's really great about today is we're going to look at a tool that's really easy to use, to incorporate, to start to create your focus on what it is you want without the resistance. What I'm about to share with you is kind of a combination of Neville Goddard's work as well as NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Now, a couple of things about our mind, what really drives us. We're primarily driven by our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is 99.999, like 9% of our life. And so everything that we desire, everything that we create, everything that we want, it has to go through the filter of our subconscious. And our subconscious mind is what pulls things into us and what also directs the course of our life towards something, that thing that we want. So we have to get our subconscious working for us. One of the reasons why we have to get our subconscious working for us is because once we make a decision about something we want, we activate what's called the reticular activating system. And what that is kind of like a heat-seeking missile. This heat-seeking missile is primarily designed to go ahead and search for that thing that you desire. So whatever is your primary focus, whatever your primary thoughts, feelings, emotions are, once you put energy into that, make a decision around that, or start to create a vision of what it is you want, our reticular activating system goes to work. And what that does is it starts to, like a heat-seeking missile, starts to take us in the direction of that thing we're focusing on the most. It also starts to bring that thing to us. Why? Because we're constantly bombarded with information, right? There's something like 2 to 5 million bits of information that our conscious mind is exposed to and our subconscious mind takes in. Now, we can't possibly be consciously aware of the 2 to 5 million bits of information per second that come in. We would go crazy. And one of the if you want an example of it, you know, people who are maybe highly sensory, maybe someone who's autistic that just gets bombarded with sensory information and it gets very overwhelming. So we have this filtering system. So the 2.5 million bits of information coming per second. And again, you know, you have sensations, you have things you're hearing, you have things you're feeling, you have things you're seeing that you're not consciously aware of. I mean, think about all the different things in your surroundings. Think about the feeling in your left toe. Now, that feeling was always there, but you were never paying attention to it. Why? Because you're listening to the sound of my voice. But then there might be, you know, a point where you stop listening to the sound of my voice and you might be listening to a conversation in another room or the hum of the air conditioning or the heater, depending on where you're at. Those sounds are going on all the time, but we're not consciously focused on that because we have a filtering system. But that information is still going into our subconscious. So our filtering system is out of the you know, again, depending on who you talk to or what research information you read, 2 to 5 million bits of information. We take in about 126 plus or minus 7 bits of information per second. Think about it. That's the same, or that's the equivalent of one word out of 400 typical nonfiction books. That's how much we consciously process. Well, what determines what we consciously process? It's our filtering system. And our filtering system is that information that was ingrained to us in our upbringing. From 0 to 7, we don't have a filtering system. We're like a sponge. We take in everything, every thought, every belief, every emotion that we were raised in. And so if we were taught that you are worthy and you are living in an abundant environment and you are a millionaire and you can have anything you desire, then that's your filtering system. If you were taught money doesn't grow on trees, there's never enough, I can't afford this, who do you think you are? That becomes our filtering system. And so as we look at all the information that's around us, we only allow in those things that match what we already believe. We're constantly trying to prove ourselves correct, prove ourselves right. And so we only allow those things that reaffirm those beliefs that we have about life, that reaffirm our identity about ourselves, that reaffirm the values that are being instilled in us, unless we consciously change them. And as some of you know, because you've been working with me for a while and you've been in this path of personal development, changing that is quite a task, right? It's reprogramming, it's relearning what we desire rather than what was kind of unconsciously imprinted. And so when we say something like, and really just another example of the reticular activating system, think about something that you are currently paying attention to. It could be, you just bought a new car, or it could be you desire a new car. You chose, for me, I want a G-Wagon. And the minute I decided I wanted a G-Wagon, I see them everywhere, everywhere. Now, and I'm sure you've had that experience. Now I saw one red G-Wagon, and now I'm seeing that shade of red everywhere. And again, it's because I've decided something. And so now my subconscious is looking for evidence of it. Were they all around me? Absolutely. Was I paying attention to? No, because my filter was that was not information that was important to me. That was not important information. So I filtered it out. I didn't see it, right? How many of us have gone through life and there's something right in front of our face and we just don't see it? Opportunities are everywhere. Opportunities to make $1 million is everywhere. Opportunities for new clients is everywhere. Opportunities for that soulmate is everywhere. But we have a certain filtering system that only lets in a certain type of person or a certain type of activity or a certain experience in until we do something different. Now, we've talked about visioning. We already know how to create a vision, and we can dive into that again in the future. We already talked about having that experience of living as if, diving into what it is that we desire. But now some people are resistant to that. Because when you're struggling to pay the bills and you go to say, I'm a millionaire, I'm abundant, and I prosper more and more every day, there might be that subconscious voice in your mind that might be there, that subconscious part of you that says, BS. Who do you think you are? You can't even pay a bill. You're not going to make $1 million. Look at your checking account. You're nowhere near that. You barely are able to, put food on the table. You barely able to hold on a job. How are you going to make $1 million? And so immediately you get flooded with proof or evidence from the past that says you can't do this. And oftentimes that can jeopardize or override your desire for change. That can jeopardize or override your new opportunity to implant a new vision, a new idea, a new thought. And so Neville Goddard talks about this particular technique that is great for the doubtful, that's great for the weary because you've tried it all, that's great for people that are skeptics, and that is great for people who are mismatchers. NLP talks about mismatchers. Oftentimes when people have grown up with trauma, they start to look for the danger more than the safety. They're always looking for what's wrong in the situation. What could go wrong? What could go bad? What is the danger here? What is the negative here? If you, I have someone close in my life who Every time I'm very positive, I'm very optimistic. I see the roses everywhere. And the minute we, look at something, he'll come right in and say, yeah, but this could go wrong. Yeah, but then, if you make all this money, the IRS is going to take it, or you're going to have to pay more taxes, or, oh, you could probably lose, all your money if you start this business. Like the constant skeptic, right? And for a while, it was almost irritating, a little frustrating, because I'm like, why are you so negative? And then I realized this person's not negative. This person's a mismatcher. They're looking for all the possible things that can go wrong, and they're bringing attention to it. They're looking for what doesn't fit, what doesn't make sense, what is the potential pitfall or downfall. And so those people are trained to look for the negative aspect of something. They're not negative people, but they're trained to look at, yes, but what if? Yes, but what about? Yes, but it's not really possible. So for those of two types of people, this is going to be the answer for anyone who has a hard time visualizing what it is they want. Now, when we think about the subconscious never processes negatives. The minute you tell a child, don't drop your plate, what do? They drop their plate. The minute you tell yourself, don't do something, that's in your radar now, and you're most likely going to head in that direction. Race car drivers are taught, do not stare at the wall. Stare at where you want to go. Because the minute you say, don't hit that wall, you're going to go right towards that wall and have an accident. And so the subconscious doesn't process negatives. Let me give you an example. Don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant. Don't even try. Don't think of the big ears and the long tusk. Don't think of an elephant. What are you thinking of? Probably you're thinking of an elephant, right? You can't not think of the elephant. Once someone creates a picture, you're going to have to make that picture first before you try to cancel it out. So in that same framework, going back to Neville Goddard, he teaches this ladder technique, which is an amazing story. He was in the back of the Ebell Theater in Wilshire, and he said, okay, and he was talking about, he teaches manifestation, this is like in the early 1900s. He taught manifestation, law of attraction, getting your mindset focused on what it is you want. And of course, there's always skeptics. Imagine skeptics now. Imagine how much people were skeptical 100 years ago. So he said, okay, for all of you doubters, all of you skeptics, want you to come up to the front of the room. And he says, you're going to do an exercise. I want you to, in the morning and in the night and in the evening, I want you to say, I will not climb a ladder. I will not climb a ladder. I will not climb a ladder. See yourself climbing the ladder, but say, I will not climb a ladder. And then if for some reason you climb a ladder in this next week when I come, I want you to come into the back of the room. And so Elmer, who was one of the students of Neville, tells a story about how he was a skeptic, he was doubtful, and he did that exercise. He's like, all right, I'm going to test this guy out. I'll see if he's a fraud. And he did the work, I will not climb a ladder. I will not climb a ladder. Well, he gets a call from his mother. He's like, hey, can you come over to my house and fix some stuff for me? Help my husband out. And so he did. And, he goes to the house. He's like, where is, I don't know, I'll just make up a name. Where's Bob? He's like, oh, Bob's out in the back, working on stuff. And he goes to the back. Bob is up on a ladder. And Bob says, hey, can you hand me that tool down there? And he's like, sure. So he grabs the tool, he climbs up the ladder, and then it dawns on him. He's climbing a ladder. Like, what are the odds? Right? So the very next week, he went to the Ebell Theater, he went to the back of the room, met with Neville Goddard, and he was a devoted student because he realized that worked. So in the same framework, I want you to play with this. It may be hard to say, I'm a millionaire. I'm going to manifest millions. I'm a gracious millionaire. abundance comes to me. But I want you to try the opposite. So I would start, if you're going to play with this, I would start with something small. Because part of learning that you are a master manifestor, part of learning that you are a creator, part of learning the power of the law of attraction is ingraining that belief in yourself. And so you could start with something big. I go big. My attitude is go big or go home, but I'm also learning patience. And so some people don't have that patience. So I'll let you decide. You could start with something small or start with something big. But I want you to add the word not in front of that thing that you desire. So while you visualize it, and I've been doing this, and it's actually pretty cool because I actually see myself in these pictures a lot easier than when I've tried to say it in the affirmative. Because again, when I say I'm in, something in the affirmative, and I'll just kind of pull, whatever examples that you can think of, and I'll have you share. Let's say I am going, I will live in a beautiful home on the beach. There's that part of me that's going to say that's a $50 million home. How are you going to do that? You're going to have to work really hard for it. That's going to be way down the line. So immediately I get the counter thought versus if I add that not, I can say, I will not live in a beautiful home on the beach. I will not be a multimillionaire. I will not be in a beautiful love relationship with the man of my dreams. I will not be the CEO of this tech company. I will not be driving my dream Lexus. I will not travel to Spain this summer. So I want you to think about that thing that you desire, visualize it, picture it, and in your mind, I want you to have that mantra, I will not. I will not. So I encourage you to play with that. Just see how that goes. See if you can visualize it a little easier. See if there's less resistance. You don't have that voice that says, yeah, right. BS. It's not going to happen. It's not for you. And so I want you to take that time to find those things that you desire, add the words, I will not, and then see what happens. Okay.
I have a question.
Awesome. Well, yes, let's go ahead and take questions. Go ahead.
I will not versus I am not.
Give me an example.
I am not living in my perfect home, as opposed to I will not be living in my perfect home.
I would suggest trying with will not. Yeah. I am is more of an identity, and I think there's a different type of power behind those words. I haven't tried it, I haven't tested it, but I would suggest use the will not instead. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Do you see this working? Let me ask you this. Does anyone here feel like you get that resistance when you go say things that you desire? Is there kind of that open door for that voice to say, yeah, right, it's not going to happen? Anyone experience that?
What is it that you said about a skeptic mirror?
A skeptic, yes.
Yeah, that's what, because the dream or the vision is at odds with the current experience.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Yeah, there is that skeptic because you're right. I love the way you said it. The dream is at odds with the current experience. So try this. This will be a great opportunity to try that. I will not get new clients this week. I will not. And again, the trick is you have to you have to see that happening. Experience that, but then say, I will not. The I will not takes away the resistance, but you're visualizing it happening.
And also because the universe doesn't hear not.
Exactly.
So all they hear is that you do have 2 new clients this week.
Absolutely. The subconscious does not process negatives.
But you're training yourself to have that kind of, I can do this mindset.
Absolutely. You're training yourself to visualize it without resistance. You're training yourself to visualize without resistance, because that visualization is the key to manifesting. The visual with the feeling. But again, when you're resistant, what happens is you see it, but then you feel crappy because you're like, yeah, but where is it? It's not here, right? That's going to push away that thing that you desire. So you see it. I see myself driving that gorgeous red G-Wagon. But I'm going to say, I will not drive a gorgeous red G-Wagon. And I'm, I mean, and I'm almost laughing at myself because I picture it and there's no resistance, right? There's no resistance to that.
I got a guy
That's what we're doing. Mhm.
I got a guy who can get you a good deal on that when you're ready.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, so that's your life play. I want you to play with this and I want you to comment. Let me know how this goes for you. I really, really want to hear how it feels as you're doing it and what results you get.
I do have one more quick thing. I've
Yes.
trained myself and I've gotten in the habit of being grateful for this thing that has already happened.
Absolutely.
So how do I do that with the I will not exercise?
Yeah. So this is just another little tool or technique. I'm not going to say eliminate gratitude. I think gratitude is very important, but do it in combination. You know, maybe you wake up, you know, in the morning and you are grateful for everything that you have in your life and you're feeling, I want you to infuse yourself with that gratitude. And then throughout the day, you know, just think of something that you desire that maybe you've been resistant to. And then just, you know, have that mantra in your head. You know, I will not be a multimillionaire, or I will not make millions, or I will not, you know, make six figures, whatever, wherever it is. I will not get 10 new clients. So whatever it is, just picture it and see it. But I don't want you to step into the negative, if that makes sense. It's not about we're going to turn everything around, infuse negative language. This is just one tool to kind of outsmart the devil, so to speak, until you can eliminate the resistance and really feel that thing that you desire. Because truly, all it takes is having a clear picture of what we desire and then feeling the feelings of it already happening. When we have those two, we can manifest anything we desire. But this is addressing how some people have a trouble feeling it because they don't believe it yet. And so instead of, and again, not instead of, let's just play with this. It's one thing to play with, but I want you to continue to do your other practices. Okay, great question. Thank you. Anything else? All righty. Well, again, please let me know how it works for you. Lots of love, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.